bipolar people, my experience and like from what I've had and what I've learned, they're very charismatic people. They're very special. It may sound crazy, but I've had incredible validation that he is very much right here.
I'm curious about the validation. It's just like things line up when you kind of just allow it to happen.
It's magic.
People say quantum physics. I say magic all the time. It's magic.
Yeah. Our love story was so everything. It was everything. It was the deepest, deepest pain and the deepest love. He wanted to go. Yeah. I'm in perimenopause, so I'm on hormone replacement. I am dealing with those kind of major changes on top of the trauma brain that I suffered from like that experience of escaping that fire and losing everything. And yeah, it's just like, so the other night I had a dream and I woke up. It was like, I didn't know where I was. And that happened a lot after the fire because we were uprooted and we were moving around a lot and we went to Europe and we were moving around different time changes and different hotels. But for months, I've been settled in my place now. I've been there for like little over 3 months. And it was the other 2 nights ago, I woke up and I was like, it took me like 10 seconds to like, where am I? It was one of those, it was wild.
That happens to me for less traumatic purposes. Whenever I travel, I forget where I was recently, but I literally woke up and it took me a solid 30 seconds to remember where the hell I was. Yeah. So a very weird feeling.
It is
for different purposes. For what you were going through, that was way more serious, but it's a bizarre feeling.
It was wild. Yeah.
Yeah, and I wasn't even sure we were going to tap into it, but that experience with the fires, it's a whole different. It's grief. Mm-hmm. It's a whole.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely still. As much as you ask me, like, how are you doing? I'm like, I'm great. I'm definitely mourning, and I'm constantly reminded, like, oh, I don't have that anymore. Mm-hmm. Oh, I don't. It's more the things, because with my particular property and my home, which was so significant, and it was the culmination of my life's work, and I had bought it with Christian, my beloved, who passed away. So it was going to be the place with my new husband where we get to live out the rest of our days. Mm. So it's a really special spot overlooking the ocean, a 270-degree open view of the mountains and the ocean. It just was so special. And my garden is basically intact. So the house was completely decimated and gone. Mm-hmm. Gone. Like nothing was salvageable. But the gardens, I mean, my landscape designer and my Sherpa through this experience, he helped me with building the house, because the house was such a project in and of itself. It was 7.5 years to build, and my husband died halfway through this project. And once he passed away and he took his life and he struggled with my bipolar disorder, when he was gone, my heart wasn't in it anymore. I didn't want to be on a mountaintop by myself. The whole plan was to be with him. And, so John, my friend John Bonney, is the one who kind of looked after this property and every plant was planted in that spot with intention to attract butterflies over here and hummingbirds over here. And we had Christian's ashes, and my dog was buried in one area, so like, it was very special. There's like no words. The words don't match up to the level of what this place meant to me.
You got me thinking on the way here. Every time I come to New York, I forget what you do or don't know. My dad died in the city with 9/11. And so New York always holds that special place for me because it's where my dad died. And I always kind of think about the feeling of how much a location holds power because of that reason. So I'm just curious, it is a grief experience, losing a future essentially and memories at the same time in your home and all that stuff. So how much power does it feel when you have a location like that holds memories?
And New York for me too. So, I left New York after 9/11.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Obviously I didn't lose a family member. I lost friends but I watched it firsthand from my apartment. And it was a huge transformative, changed the trajectory of my entire life. I had just had my baby 2 months before. So I had a home birth in my apartment 2 months before 9/11. And it was 2 months later where I, having my baby on my own terms in that way, where I made a documentary about my birth experience. But I was so empowered and so tapped into my goddess, I can do anything energy. And then 2 months later, thought the world was coming to an end in that spot. And I left. I fled the country, the state. I fled. I ended up going through a divorce. I left my talk show and I started anew in California. And 22 years later, I do the same thing. I come back to New York after fleeing this fire.
This is, I guess, what do you think that is? Because I feel like they're parallel, but also different because for different reasons. That you literally lost a home
Yeah.
But what's the idea of, did it feel like fleeing, or you just needed a new location to be at for this time around?
It feels like survival in a way. Like it feels like I needed to get out of New York. I was so messed up. Uh, like the idea of sending my children to school across town and being on this island and feeling trapped because like the National Guard was in my neighborhood um and I had these hormones right, like I was breastfeeding my newborn and this feeling of wanting to protect the lioness protecting her cub, and I just needed to get out and start something new. And so I think it was out of fear. And it's same thing. Like, after I lost my home in LA, we were gonna rent a house in LA and wait for it to be rebuild. And I was like, what's keeping us here? Our children are grown. My husband's a lawyer. He has a New York office here. Let's go to New York where we can be like distracted by this amazing city. And it's been such a gift because I never thought I'd come back. I mean, I'm a New Yorker. I'm from here. I'm from Westchester. I went to high school here in the city. I always will consider myself a New Yorker, but I really love LA and I love Malibu in particular. So coming back now, again, it was out of fleeing. I was not really convinced that it was safe with the air quality, what they're saying about how it's safe. I didn't buy it. I just wanted to be distracted, and I have friends here, and, so coming back here has been really, really, really a gift.
Yeah. And there's a specific word, fleeing. It's not running, it's seeking safety. So I think that's a big correlation in the experience. But how does this all relate to, again, I like to look at the different types of grief, because I feel like every time grief comes up, it's often correlated to biological loss, but this is not biological, but you're still grieving a future and a past at the same time. So there's a lot of layers to it. But how does that compare to the deep grief that you felt with Christian? Like, is there any correlation to there? Or does it feel like just a totally new
what's
grief experience?
different? What's different is that I have a partner now. When I lost Christian, I had an amazing support system of friends that literally held me up because I was not functioning. I was really, really, so I felt very alone in my grief with Christian. I felt like no one knows what this feels like. And that was really, really hard. And I went on a pilgrimage to try to heal from that loss. And it wasn't just healing from his death, it was healing from the mental illness too. Cause I also didn't know what living with someone and loving someone who has bipolar disorder and wasn't medicated, what a psychotic episode looks like, living through that. Like that was almost even more shocking to me, the initial episode that he had in 2014 than his death in 2017.
Yeah. And what is it? How convoluted is that experience in regards to, because you guys separated a few years before, have that right? Like a couple years before or so?
We separated after the first episode in
right.
2000. So we met in 2010.
2010. Okay. Yeah. And I don't have enough experience in my life to even really speak in your experience at all, let alone it not being my experience. But you separate with someone who has bipolar disorder. Is that a weird contradiction? Because it's not like you've fall out of love. You fall for a person for who they are, but then there's something that seems like an obstacle that neither of you have control over.
Yeah.
So is that kind of a weird experience?
It was all a weird experience. It was all so traumatizing because this was a man. I mean, I met him in 2010 again through another fire of all things, another house fire.
What's your sign? Are you a fire sign too?
I'm a Virgo. I'm an earth sign.
Right? I don't know what any of that means. I was just trying to make a bad joke, honestly.
I don't know. I feel like that experience was like divine intervention. It actually brought he and I together as a couple, and we fell very deeply in love. He was very special, but he was also extremely sick. And, bipolar people, my experience and like from what I've had and what I've learned, they're very charismatic people. They're very special. But he struggled and he was a project. Like I was his caretaker and I was signed on to be that for him at that time. I loved him and he couldn't function in a normal way, that like pulling in a paycheck and having a steady job. Like his stuff he struggled with chronic pain and migraines and issues of self-worth and he was dyslexic and had learning issues. I mean, he had like a litany of stuff, but he was also loved me literally to death, because I believe when he left, and I mean, I don't know how deep we want to go into this, but when we met, he was actually planning to take his life then. And, we got together through this fire. I had a house fire. We got together. My birthday was 3 days after this fire. And he and I didn't know each other that well, but we got very close on this one evening of my birthday, and we got intimate. And I said to him, and which is crazy at the time, I literally said, if you stick it in, you're going to be my man. Verbatim. Like actually those words. I basically gave him an ultimatum, and he was a man of his word. And he was someone that was he was in the process of figuring out who he was going to leave his dog to. And he was like really like days away from taking his life then.
Wow.
Because he had been in a crash. The bipolar, the episode is like, they have this heightened thing of like grandiosity. They think they're God. They think they're, all this crazy stuff happens. And then they ultimately crash. And usually it's either a hospitalization or, severe, something has to like stop them in their tracks from going sort of higher and higher and higher. And he was in a crash, like a depressed state when I met him. And that night he said, okay, he's committed to me.
That's beautiful.
And we consummated the relationship. And that was me sort of saving him. I didn't know it at the time. He told me shortly after that he had been diagnosed bipolar. And I didn't know what that was. I said, oh yeah, we all have our stuff. I'm a control freak. I get it. Like I was like, I handle it like that without really knowing what that means. And it was 4 years until he had his first real psychotic break with me. And that was so shocking to see someone you love, someone you're now married to, who's helping to raise your children with you. And, to be my like deepest, greatest love, to have him turn on a dime and be mean and to be not the person, like a totally different person. And he was, thought he could time travel and left his car on the side of the road. And I mean, it was just crazy, 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 crazy. And I ended up divorcing him because I had to sort of separate myself legally. I couldn't be liable for him getting in a car accident and killing someone, like he was doing all this crazy erratic stuff. So I had to divorce him legally, but we were still together. We got back together. I mean, am I telling you too much of this?
No, the door's open for you.
But I think I grieved the relationship then, even though we were still together, it was different. Because I'd learned about this illness. He was struggling with medication. He had to be on a 5150 hold. I had to, put him in a treatment center. Like he became even more of a project for me, but I was committed to being his partner. And it happened again 2 years later, which is, these episodes can keep happening, especially if they're not taking care of themselves, if they're not properly medicated, if they're, so it was, he continues to be my greatest teacher of my entire life. That experience, having him, losing him, healing from him, and he's still here. Like I've also had incredible, it may sound crazy, but I've had incredible validation that he is very much right here with me.
I mean, I have questions for everything you just said, but I am curious about the validations because I'm sure you haven't listened to any or some of my episomes, but I believe in that stuff. And so I love hearing these stories. So if you want to share that validation.
Well, I don't even know like where to begin, but basically I've had many. So I used to do a talk show and I used to have mediums on my show all the time.
Right.
So I had, James Van Praagh, Maureen Hancock, like all the, the big ones. And Maureen became like a friend. She was on my show. So I did 2 talk shows. I did my first one here in New York for 11 years. And then I did one in LA in 2012 to 2013. And I was with Christian at that time. And so when we did the show on mediums, he was at the studio. So he got to meet her. We invited him back to our house. I become friends with everyone immediately. And so she got to know him a little bit. And so when he passed in 2017, I reached out to her because we couldn't find his body. And I knew because he was very transparent with me about his, when he would get in these states of having suicidal ideation, he had stockpiled pills. I knew he was planning to overdose. I knew that if that ever came to be, that's what he would likely do. And so I knew, he had planned it all like this, all of it was planned by him. And as crazy as it sounds, it's like, he did it in the most loving way he could have for me. It I don't want to trigger people, but it almost was like selfless of him. Like I feel that way. My relationship to him and how he handled it. I mean, I got to see him. I hadn't seen him. So what would happen when he'd have an episode, the two that he had while he was with me, he would he would be off, like, and for a few months we wouldn't communicate. And then he would get back in, and then I would have a text relationship with him, trying to support him. But I'm trying to get my life together. Right. I'm trying to heal. I'm trying to move on and keep him at bay. But of course, I'm still madly in love with him. I still want him to get over this and for us to live a happy life together. And the second time, God, it's also crazy. We got back in touch around Thanksgiving, and I was texting with him, but I knew at that point that we couldn't get back together. It was never going to come back around. And so in January, so he went to Phoenix or Arizona to be near his sister and his mother, and we were in exchanging. And he said he was coming to come through LA, and I said, I'd been working in therapy, and I'd been like really working on myself, exercising, taking care of myself, and so my friends, my therapist, everyone said, okay, if you're going to see him, if he's passing through town and you're going to see him, and it's been 4 months, probably 3 months, don't see him at night. Don't have alcohol. Don't bring him home. Don't have sex with him. Just like see him during the day, like all the things.
Rules,
and I did everything that everyone told me not to do.
Okay. Feeling okay, yeah.
And thank God, because I got to have this beautiful time with him where he did come back home with me, and he didn't drink. He wasn't a drinker, but we met for happy hour at one of our favorite sushi places in Venice. And we had this really great night. It didn't seem he seemed down because his life had kind of blown up. Like his life was a mess, and he was, of course, mourning the loss of our relationship and whatever. But I got to be with him, and I said, "What are you doing in LA?" And he said, "Oh, I have jewelry and pawn." Like he was a jewelry designer and seller. And I was like, "Oh, okay." So that was one clue. Okay. He was, and so he did come home with me. We spent the night together. He made me this playlist. We played this playlist. He called it My Eternal Soulmate, this music that he made for me. And we listened to that all night. And the next morning, and I had this beautiful goodbye, basically. I didn't know it was goodbye, And
he knew.
He knew. I found out he had bought a gun back in Arizona via Craigslist, which the fact that anyone with mental history, with hospitalizations can buy a gun. I mean, it's just
that's
absurd.
Another thing.
And so I didn't know any of that. I didn't know. And so I was leaving for London. So he made sure to see me before I went to London. I was doing a show in London called Let It Shine, which ironically, letting me shine. Mm-hmm. And I was in London when it was on February 11th at 1:11. Everything is 11/11.
Your dad's birthday.
That was really, your dad's birthday is 11/11.
February 11th. February 11th, yeah.
That's when he took his life. Did we have this connection?
No, I didn't know that. Yeah.
Oh my God. And 9/11. I mean,
yeah.
Wow, that is chilling. So he sent the note to his sister, and his sister let me know. I had just finished the show, and I knew he was gone. From reading the note, I knew. And he had relinquished his bulldog, his beloved dog, Pasha. And the note basically said he'd left the dog at a bulldog rescue in Orange County. So I knew he was in that vicinity, and we couldn't find him. And so I reached out to Maureen. I don't even know how I got from London back to LA. It's a blur. My friend was with me. She got me there. And I reached out to Maureen Hancock. So this is now the 12th of February. And she said, "It's Christian." And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "He's gone." I said, "I know." I said, "We're trying to find him." He told her where he was. And 10 minutes later, the police called, and it was where he said he was. He was in his car behind a building in a parking lot. And so that was the first, he's connected. And then on February 14th, which was Valentine's Day, he had said he has jewelry. Oh, she kept saying, "He wants you to have the ring. He wants you to have the ring." And I was like, it must be his wedding band. He was a jewelry designer. So he had designed this really ornate wedding band. That was his band. So I went on a wild goose chase on Valentine's Day, February 14th. They found his body on the 13th. The the 14th, I'm going to pawn shops downtown to find this. I'd never dealt with a pawn shop before. You have to have all this cash, and you have to have the death certificate. You have to show your next of kin, all this crazy
Yeah,
stuff.
there's a lot of steps.
I got this manila envelope, and it was heavy because the ring was so heavy, and I collapsed. It was the ring, and I found it, and it was just unbelievable. So that was the one first validation that he was able to connect. And then a year later, I had another experience with a psychic medium named Patricia Michelle. She was out of Ohio. She was in her 80s. She's since passed away, which makes me so sad because she was unbelievable. She channeled him for an entire hour. I have it all on. I lost the hard copy of it because it was in the fire in my house, but I have it on my computer.
The whole hour, it was just him coming through the entire time?
Him coming through the entire time. Now, this woman had no way of knowing my name. I didn't give my name. I only gave my middle name and my age. That's all she said she needed. And he came through, and specifics, who he was in a previous life, which explained why he was so connected to Native Americans, and he worked with Native Americans, and he grew up in the Four Corners, and he had a tattoo of the Four Corners on his arm. And it was so specific. And I know it sounds crazy to people. I'm not about trying to convince people.
No,
I have a knowing. I have a deep knowing, and it goes beyond just these experiences with these talented mediums. It is also like Ross coming into my life, meeting this man, this relationship I have now. I know Christian handpicked him. There's no way we would have met. There's no way we would have been drawn to each other. The one thing that I'm baffled about is that why didn't Christian help me save my house? Like, why didn't my house survive? I feel like it was so sacred, and it was the spot, and I had it like crystal energy gridded, and I was like, oh, my house is going to survive because Christian is protecting me.
Right.
Like I had this deep knowing that nothing's going to happen in my house.
And have you tried to consolidate that in regards, like, if you had to think about it in the way you were?
I mean, here I am now 6 months after the fire, and I'm on this new adventure with my amazing partner, and I never knew we would love and like enjoy New York the way we are. And we are going to rebuild, and our garden is so intact. Like every plant survived basically. So yeah, I mean, it's all a gift, like all of it. Even like,
I wasn't going to tell you your own lesson, but I was thinking the exact same thing. Where you think things are going to happen. You being the general, you think things are going to happen a certain way, then you start questioning maybe something you just did. Like, why wasn't the house? It meant so much. But then you also said earlier how he's continued to teach you so much through these experiences and therefore after. So it's like, I think it's the meaning you give it. So who knows what the right answer is? But at the same time, it's like maybe your specific house going down, it's like making you not move on, move with, but without the tangibles. You know what I mean? You can still move with someone without the tangibility of something, and he's still with you. It's like, oh, like you can leave that there. I'm still with you, but you have all this other adventure to continue on with or without. So there's so much to go with it. Yeah,
and it's perspective. It's how you see things. And I am someone that that is half full. I'm an optimist.
Yeah.
I am such a positive person. I always have been. And Christian was such a gift. He was really intense. It was really, really hard, a lot, the caretaking and the level of pain that I witnessed. But I mean, so much good. I became the best version of myself through that relationship. He opened me up to plant medicine. That's been another huge, what's the word? I'm in perimenopause, so my words don't come, but it's like a tool for me on this journey of healing. Like oh my God, I did a lot of, both, recreational experiences and deep, deep medicine work with, a lot of healers, to try to make sense of why this has happened to me and what to learn from it.
It made sense. It got through?
Oh, all of it. Yeah.
I mean, I love that stuff.
Going to Burning Man. I went to Burning Man for the first time. We had always wanted to go, but we would always go to Ibiza, which is kind of like Burning Man in a way. But we would just spend the summers in Ibiza, and it's very magical island. So Burning Man is always at the end of August. So you kind of have to choose one because Burning Man takes a lot of effort to get ready for it.
I've never been there either. It does seem like a hell of a trip.
It's incredible. I brought his ashes there too. When I had him cremated, which is what he wanted, I had him in 11 bags because 11 was his number. And I mean, I don't know if this is too much detail, but
Yeah, the mic's yours. You can do whatever
I
you
gave
want.
his mom, I gave his sisters his ashes. I put his ashes in Malibu, both in the water on the in the ocean when I did his. I mean, I like celebrated his life in a like to the nth degree, and I brought him to Burning Man, and I actually had clothing made, like costumes made with his clothing on the inside because I
That's dope.
brought him with
That's
me.
powerful.
Yeah, all of it was so much to honor him, but to also like just bring him. Like I just needed to continue to feel connected to him.
Yeah, that keyword "celebrated" I think is important. I think that's a glass half full comment that I personally love because it doesn't, when you celebrate a life, doesn't mean it still doesn't hurt. It doesn't mean that you don't feel that. It's the idea of celebrating a life, that we got to have that. You know what I mean? Like, there's a girl I had on my podcast that worded it much better than I'm about to explain it. It's like I got to gain a life, even though I lost so and so. It's like I gained a life. I gained an experience, and yeah, it's not that physicality that we want in the way that we experience life, but it still stays with you. If you do keep your antennas up, it always stays with us, and it just transmutes into a different form. But I think you keeping him alive in all these ways it's moving with again. It's not lingering on. It's not this or that. And I think if it was, you'd know. Yeah. But you can just move with. And it's I think it's an important healing practice, but it might take time to get there. Yeah. I do want to ask you, because you know, early on you said when you first met him, he was preparing to take his own life, and then you guys met, and then, you know, 4 years later, before his next breakdown, you saved him. Is there some kind of weird circle of how he saw you at the end? And do you ever think he knew he was going to take his life, but you ever consider, was this an attempt not only just to see you because he loved you, but maybe it would happen one more time?
That I would save him one more time? Well, I saved him twice. Yeah. You mean, like, do I wish I could have done things differently?
No, not you. No, I'm just saying, like, this is a big what if question where it's a speculation, so it might even be worth having. But I just saw it as almost poetic in a sense that you saved him the first time, and then you guys had that last hurrah in like maybe in a similar fashion, perhaps. But then he still continued to do it. But he like maybe just made his decision, and it just didn't matter.
His decision was
just
made.
Didn't matter.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and I think it was really poetic and tragically beautiful.
Right.
Our love story was so. Everything. It was everything. It was the deepest pain and the deepest love, you know, like, and they say, you know, you grieve as hard as you loved, you know, it's like, and the grief is what you don't have a place to put it or something. It's the love that you don't have a place. He wanted to go. He wanted to go. He did not want to suffer. He suffered. I mean, he definitely suffered, and medication works for so many people. For him, I mean, and again, I'm talking from my experience. I'm not an expert. I'm not talking about all people that struggle with bipolar. I'm talking about him and my experience. And I only was with him for 6.5 years. His family had their own experience before I came along. But in my experience with him, medication wasn't going to work because it made him a zombie. And he just flatlined. You know, he just didn't have, and he was someone that was like more of an empath than anyone I've ever known. Like, he would literally feel everyone's pain. He couldn't have the news on in the back. I mean, I shudder to think with what's going on in the news and the world right now, and the suffering that we are witnessing every time we see anything on our social media, it's paralyzing for a lot of us. And for him, you know, he wanted to feel like he was intuitive with people. He loved to connect with people. He was very discerning about who he connected with. Like, he was kind of a little bit of a bit aloof to some people. And he didn't want to be numbed and be a zombie for the rest of his life.
You ever see it as a relief in some capacity that suffering's ending?
Absolutely a relief. Yeah. And my friend, I have a dear friend, Robin, who's like this wise older sister to me, and she said to me I'm back in the deepest part of like when it just happened, and she's like, this makes me emotional. She said, he didn't leave you, he spared you, you know. And I believe that, because if he was here, if he was like, let's say we weren't together and I was always worried about him, I was always thinking about him, I was, you know, like, I don't know if I would have been able to fully cut the cord and truly move on and have the life that I have now with Ross, you know. And he is here. Like, I know it. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I appreciate you letting me in there a little bit. I know
He was really cool. He was really cool.
I mean, you're pretty cool, so you guys
I'm
fell in
really
love.
cool. Like we were so good, and I love my husband Ross for being so supportive of me being able to talk about this love, because it's like there's no sort of jealousy or insecurity, or like he is very secure that he's the shit. Like he's the pinnacle. He like Christian in that relationship got me to like me being my best self and being able to like have this real like partnership, you know, because Christian and I weren't really true partners. You know, he had so many struggles and he had so many feelings about that he couldn't provide for himself, and he couldn't, you know, and Ross is like just a very healed. I think the difference, you know, not to compare, but Ross loves himself. Christian really struggled with self-love, I think.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of, not similarities, but just from my own experience with my mom, you know, losing her husband. And then she has a partner she's been with forever, and he's been a blessing. And, you know, that dynamic, I was 12 at the time, so I kind of understood it as I got, you know, became more into manhood. But that dynamic of being the partner, whether man or woman, coming into a relationship of someone that lost their partner, especially with kids, it's a delicate situation, you know. And to have someone like Ross handle it with that confidence and not interfere with your process that, you know, is going to be a lifetime in many ways, in different forms, of course. But to have someone with that confidence to allow that is not only healthy for you, it's healthy for the relationship.
It says a lot about him.
It says a lot about him. He sounds like a gem.
And we joke about the fact that, so Ross grew up Mormon, devout Mormon.
Is that the secret?
It's a secret. What do you mean
Is
secret?
that the secret to be like, you know?
Oh, no. I don't know about that.
No, not
but
being
like
Mormon
they
is not
have
a
this
secret.
belief that they go to this planet and they're with, you know, so he was married for 23 years to the mother of his 4 children, that they're tied in the through the church, that through eternity, they're together.
Oh.
So the joke is like, okay, what happens? Like Christian, I've had this like knowledge that Christian's in this third heaven from this medium. Am I going to be reunited with Christian? Do we all get to be together? We all share it? Like what happens? So we joke about that. But
That's cute.
I trust that it's all going to work out. On
That's
the
how
other
I feel.
side.
That's how I feel. I'm just like, I think it's just all going to work out. I think we haven't gone in too depth about our beliefs, but I think we both believe that there's, you know, continuation.
I do believe that.
I firmly believe that. And I'm not saying it's right. We'll find out. But at the same time, like, that's how I feel. And I think it's one of those knowingness. I don't need to prove it. It's just how I feel.
Yeah.
But I also think that correlates you saying, and when I mentioned, is it a relief? You know, I feel like that is a little easier for us to come to agreement on that, or just feel that way when you have those certain beliefs that he's still here, we continue on. I feel like that relief can go either way. Even if you don't believe something's continues on, the relief that, okay, at least he's not suffering, I think is constant.
Yeah.
But I think it does a little easier if you do have those beliefs that we're continuing on. Like he's not suffering there and he's continuing on and he's still there, just not suffering. So I feel like it makes that relief aspect a little bit easier.
Yes.
Because sometimes we say it's a relief. It's like people that aren't thinking clearly, it's like you're taking that as, oh, I'm happy the person's gone. It's like, no, happy he's not suffering. Yeah. But with that idea of thinking that they continue on, which I firmly believe, again, it is beautiful in many ways. You know, there's thought.
It's comforting.
I like to think so, you know, because I truly feel like, and he was suffering here, and I like to think that he's not suffering there. If anything, where the suffering exists, it's on this plane. So we're the ones left with the shit to deal with.
According to Patricia Michelle, she said that he is at peace, that he feels like himself. He said, and the only thing is that he doesn't have me, you know, man. But he, you know, and yeah. And he said so many specifics about where he is and what his process was of taking his life. And, you know, talked about my children, you know, it was really a profound experience. The most I'm not being articulate right now, but
I think you are.
That was one of the greatest gifts, that experience of having that hour. And I had 2 other readings with her that were also mind blowing, but nothing like this one where he just came through and he was like, I feel like I could play it for you. And it's beyond.
How long after was that session? So
it was almost 1 year to the day of his death. So it was in end of January of 2018, and he died on February 11th, 2017.
And so I know you were tapped into that that belief system with the mediums and the afterlife for like your life, if not right, for a while.
I mean, I'm someone, I believe in magic.
Yeah,
I believe
okay.
like
I'm not, we're not too far off.
like, and some might say I'm gullible, you know, but I don't care what anyone says.
Well, I wasn't asking that in a sense of like, you know, trying to understand your belief system. It was more that timing of you. Like I was curious about the timing a year after, but you've kind of had these beliefs. So did it feel like a calling to do it, or did you feel like you just needed to get something?
I didn't want to do it. No, here's the thing.
Okay.
So basically my friend Robin, I was kind of like, because I had this experience with Maureen where, you know, they said where Christian's body was, and that, you know, that was valid.
Wild.
That was wild.
Yeah, that was verified. She was right.
Oh, she was right. I mean, it
Holy.
was that he was in a car. So basically he was in his car and he used a gun versus him being in a hotel room somewhere in Orange County and overdosing. What?
There's a million other variables.
Right.
Been.
So like it was specific enough that I was like, okay, he was able to communicate with her. But with Patricia, so Robin, my friend Robin ends up like, give a shout out to Robin, because she's literally like the person I went to her house after the fire. I went straight to her house in Ojai, and she housed us for 3.5 weeks. And she's been like beyond generous as a friend to me. And when she knew about this Patricia Michelle, she's like, you have to get on her wait list. You're not going to believe it. And I was like, really? Do I need another medium? She was really expensive. I remember like she said, just pay the money and do it. And so I got on the wait list. I had it was like 2 or 3 months to get on, and I didn't use my name. Like I said, I didn't, everything was like with my middle name and my age. The woman had no way of knowing it was me. And I did it kind of begrudgingly. Like I was just like, okay, it was on the phone. It was it was before COVID, but it's like, I'm thinking of the apartment I was living in during COVID. So it was 2018, and I'm in my bedroom and I'm like rolling my eyes, and then it's just, so basically, okay, let me just, I feel like your listeners, you'll edit it out. You'll edit it out.
They're going to love
love
this.
sharing this.
Don't worry about it.
So she's, Patricia's like, okay, Pamela, you say you're Pamela and you're 48 years old. Okay. Okay, there's a spirit coming, he's coming in the room. Okay. But he's saying no. He's like, that's not her name. He's like, that's not her name. So I'm not saying exact, but he goes, she's giving a different name. Like, and she's like 83. So she's saying like Ricki. I don't know. I'm asking him, can you spell it? And he says, don't you know? Like, meaning, don't you know? Because she's famous. Don't you know? He's like, okay. R-I-C. I see the C. K. It's a Ricki or something like that. And I'm like, yes. And he goes, oh my God. And this is back and forth. I knew you would do it because I knew you would find someone who would be able to hear my voice. I knew you would do it. And then he goes on and he's like, I am so sorry. I know how foolish it was that I took my own life. I know it. I know the pain I've caused the family. And he goes on and on and on, and he names his son. It goes on and on and on. When I was born on July 24th, 1971 in New Mexico, and it's long, like it takes longer for her to get this out.
Of course, yeah.
But
that's insane.
It goes on
Beautifully
and
insane.
on and yeah. So,
and that felt at that point, it's so interesting again, because a lot of people, question the idea of doing it when you're vulnerable, but you were just kind of like, you didn't want to do it. And then it shocked you even more. And so was this a big turning point on your grief process?
1,000,000%. It's what truly got me on the path of healing.
You're just like,
because until then, and I brought a crew of people to Ibiza. We had a shaman do this ceremony in front of Esfedro, which is, I spread his ashes there. That's where he called home. Like he believed he was an alien. Mm-hmm. He believed he was not of this earth, he was not meant for this earth. He was from another planet or whatever.
He felt that when he was having
when
an episode.
When he was alive, he never felt understood. Wow, he felt like he was just of like a different, like he just couldn't really truly connect with, he didn't see other people as being like him. Right. He felt like he was just from this other place. And so I did so many things, like I said, to honor him, but to also heal. And it was only this reading with Patricia in January of 2018 where I felt like, I have this understanding, mm-hmm. and I was able to kind of start to move forward in my life.
And besides just in general connecting to him, do you think it was anything specific the apology or just knowing he was okay? Was there anything specific you feel you needed
All
to
of it.
everything?
All of it.
That's so beautiful.
All of it. Like,
That's so
and he
sick.
talks about my sons and, I mean, it was so deep and specific and like, just like a perfectly wrapped present. Like it was just
Got everything.
It was everything. It was batshit crazy.
Yeah, but I
In the best way.
I'm with
In
you.
the
I'm
best
with
way.
you on that.
And I believe she had these incredible gifts, this woman, this kooky woman, who never, I don't think ever became super, super famous, like one of the big ones. But I think he has these gifts. Like, I think it's the combination of he needed to come to me and explain himself.
But then you also had Robin to connect you. So there's like all these like synchronicities that just get you there.
Yeah.
It's like we think these things just happen sometimes. And it's, oh yeah, I just made a turn. I did this. But sometimes I feel like life is just a bunch of little breadcrumbs.
Yes.
And you pick up a breadcrumb and then you forget about the breadcrumb, 2 breadcrumbs before that and how you got here. And it's just like things line up when you're kind of just allow it to happen.
It's magic.
Yes. People say quantum physics. I say magic all the time. It's fucking magic.
Yeah. This
and that's
life
the glass
of
half
mine.
full thing. You know what I mean? It's like all these. I truly believe everything. Everything truly feels like magic.
Mm-hmm.
And when
as much as like so many horrible things are happening in the world, like
there's
it's
black
so
magic,
horrible. But I can only look like at my experience and my perspective and my journey, and I have had the richest, most extraordinary life. And, I am self-made. I don't come from money. I don't come from like a handout or nepotism. I got very lucky with John Waters picking me for this little movie when I was 18 years old. And I feel like that like foundation of my career of being this character that everyone loves and roots for and trusts and relates to. And then doing this talk show where I was like, and just like all these avenues with my professional career. And then, having these experiences with deep, deep, deep love with my first husband and having my 2 sons. Like, I just feel like I've had it all. And Christian has been like one of the greatest experiences of my entire life.
Even it's beautiful to acknowledge, again, you're focusing on the perspective you mentioned. It's focusing on these glass half full shit. But even mixed in there, you have your turbulence, you have your heartbreaks, you have your loss. But again, I wonder how much when you go through that experience, I think it still shines the light on the stuff you have way more. Back to that perspective, like you go through those dark times and you could easily just focus on that. But sometimes for me, and it seems like for you, you're shining a light on the darkest time of your life. And even within the darkest time of your life, you still can find that light.
Yeah. And I think by sharing it, like I'm someone who's super transparent about everything, whether it's my facelift or my hair loss or my, my journey with Christian, I heal. That is part of my healing process because I feel like I'm not setting out to help people. Like that's not really, I'm not, I'm really about healing myself first and foremost. And then the fact that there's a ripple effect, that it gets people having a conversation about something that is not so easy to talk about. I've learned so much about mental illness from my experience. And it's part of my, for some reason, I was given this opportunity to be a public figure and to have a platform. And, I'm trying to do it for good, to use it for good. And it feels good to also keep his memory alive. He did not die in vain. Mm-hmm. He mattered to so many people and mostly me, I would say. Like that family suffered tremendously with him throughout his life.
That's a point you just said. You said a couple of things that I feel like I've been thinking of leading up to this, but maybe I was just thinking about my own experience. I remember I was thinking about my dad, and then something hit me. It didn't hit me for the first time. This would sound robotic if it didn't, but I was like, yeah, I lost my dad, but my sister lost her dad. My mom lost a husband. My aunt lost a brother. My grandma lost her son. It was just maybe it's the ripple effect of one person. Like we focus on the individual part of grief, and at the same time, you're mentioning like the family. It's such a spider web of experiences. But at the same time, even though what do you need? I got you. You need a tissue?
Yeah, I need a tissue.
You got a tissue back there? Use my shirt if you need it.
Yeah, it is. It impacts so many people. And he was so loved. Like my friends, that's a whole nother thing because we were all so tight. And a lot of them were thank you. Paper towel works. I thought I usually have tissues with me.
I'm sorry for not bringing it.
But
that was my fault.
a lot of my friends were super angry with him. My oldest son was
because of what he did.
Yeah, but he wasn't in his right mind. But like, and then my friend John Bonney, the one who looked after my house, and he's continuing to be the Sherpa of my house that we're going to rebuild. But he was so, because they had a falling out. Christian was crazy. Wow. Christian was like looking for drugs and like was stealing, and he was doing things that were not him. Yeah. And so his last time with Christian was like really not pleasant and not positive. And so he carried a lot of guilt about it. And, it's really hard. That's why I go back to like the closure that I was able to have. Mm-hmm. He gave me that. And he wrote me, you want me to see if I can find the last text
I would love
he
that.
wrote to me.
Let
me see if I can find it. I haven't looked at it in a long time.
Have these experiences, while you look for it, if you don't mind multitasking, have these experiences, especially with yours in particular, does it help you let go of taking things too personal from people? You know what I mean? Like in a way that, like, there's certain people that react to those situations that you expressed that felt guilty because they weren't leaving on good terms. Does that question make sense?
Wait, say it again, because I'm looking for it and I lost my train of thought. I wasn't really listening. So wait, do I have what? Say it again.
So I should have waited till you just got there.
I got it. It's like,
I just have word vomit sometimes. I was saying, just like, does that experience of, being there and showing up for Christian it's a very difficult thing to manage and be there for someone you love. Did that transmute to being more patient with other people, in a sense that it's very easy to take things personal. When someone does something like, oh, that person's an asshole, and you take it personal and you think they're coming at you. But I know you're spiritual in a sense. So I just always think of it as, when someone does, I don't take things personal very easily. If someone's being an asshole, call them out. Of course, I'm not saying like be stepped on. Yeah. But at the same time, I just think we're on this weird experience where people, like, I don't take things personal. And so I wonder if your experience with Christian has had any transmutation to the way you deal with other relationships?
I don't know. I feel like that the relationship was so unique. He was my partner. Maybe I've never put the dots together on that.
Maybe there's no dots. Maybe I'm just talking nonsense right now.
I don't know. I see it in like a different category. So, I have this new partner. I have my new husband, who's now 3.5. We've been married for 3.5 years, but it's a different thing. Like after the first episode with Christian, I would sleep with one eye open. After that, we got back together for 2 years. I was like, is he, because his sister kind of, when he first was manic, and I didn't see it, the thing with bipolar, and I'm going back to 2014, he was someone who struggled with getting up in the morning. He had chronic pain, as I said. He had migraines. He couldn't motivate. He was dragging. Like, I'd have to kind of get him out. But once he get going, he's super fun. He's really funny. He was so loving. He was a great time. But he struggled. Like he did the best he could because he was staying for me, really. Yeah. And she's the one who tipped me off when he went manic for that first time with me. He's suddenly waking up with me in the morning, and he's meditating, and he's oil pulling, and he has all these ideas, and he's making these lists, and he's got these great connections with his jewelry. And I'm like, he's on fire, And she called me out of the blue. I'll never forget it. I was living in the marina, and she's crying. And he always kept them at bay because he didn't want them to tarnish this beautiful relationship that we were on. Like, he was keeping it in check, And she said, I'm afraid my brother is manic and having an episode. From his Facebook post.
That's how
she could tell the way he wrote a post. And she said, watch for him not sleeping, watch for him not eating, watch for having having grandiose thoughts, watch for like the checklist of things. And he was, and it keeps going higher. I don't know if I answered your question. I went off on a tangent.
No, I think my question was wasn't even a good question, but no.
The family, like the sister, like she and his mom, his beautiful mom,
there's so many impacted.
Yeah, they tried to just fix him.
Yeah, there's only so much and I feel like in that situation, there's only so much you can do. And that's why it's hard sometimes the guilt comes in, but sometimes there's only so much you can do. And then that's just what happens, unfortunately. Yeah. I didn't mean to interrupt you if you were looking for that. It's
like, I found it doesn't go back. Maybe I have to be on the Wi-Fi. Maybe that's.
Is there Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
Are we okay for time?
I think we're still before 12:30. We got a little bit of time. We're good.
I'd love to see it because I haven't seen it in so long.
And this is his last text?
This was his last text exchange after we'd spent the night together. It was his goodbye for me. That was what like.
Yeah, I mean, it all correlates to what you were saying. And you feel like he did it in a selfless way.
Yeah.
That,
do you know what's the name of the network?
Yeah, it's WTF Media Studios.
Say again?
WTF.
WTS. Okay. Media Studios. Yep.
And it's Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter, all
it's
lowercase.
No spaces.
Thank you. All right, let's see if this works. Let's see. I'm on the web.
Okay.
I'm on the Wi-Fi.
mm-hmm. Oh, God, my knee.
And it is cathartic for me telling his story, like keeping his memory alive. I
love
actually, he was something else. He really, really was so, I don't know if it's going to come up. Let me
That's
see.
okay.
I think it's under a different, let me see if it's under a different name.
Yeah, he did. He did it with such intention, without the use so
Yeah.
much on use the words wrong there. But he seemed to set things up before he goes, which I feel like is rare
I know.
for these stories of ending this way. And it's rarely like that.
I know. I can't explain it. Wait, let's see. No, it's. I know I have it, but I don't know where it
You
is.
saved it.
It's so I have his old text message, but it's like I don't have. It won't go back. Oh, I just called his number. I can't find it.
It's okay.
Sorry.
It's all right. If you find it another time, I would love to hear.
I'll look for it another time. I'm trying to think where it could be. Yeah, let me look one more spot in my WhatsApp. Throw out another question.
No, I just don't want to interrupt you. It just got me thinking. There's just so much. I'm just curious about you. So you had that moment with the medium that you said was a big turning point. How do you move from there? Like I'm saying, since that's such a big turning point, how do you move through that experience feeling like you had?
I was sharing it with everyone.
So stories.
The actual recording.
The recording.
I had people, because people were really struggling with just healing from that. And I sat with people. I mean, I would play the whole thing, and every single person except one, and I won't name her, but she's a total skeptic. I just talked to her on the way over here. She's a total, and it actually pissed me off. Again, I'm not trying to convince people. I know. But like of all my friends, like my friends were healed, like were able to see things in a totally different way, and like it made sense to them, and they could like move on and knew that he was okay. And so it was such a gift for 40 different people that were close to him. I individually would sit them down and play this with them and cry and smile and like have so much healing took place from it. So it just my like, it's like I started seeing everything in like 5D again, I started like looking, and I was able to like just love my life again. And yeah, it really was magic, that experience.
What about the experience of, into a new relationship? Was that a transition where it was difficult for you or anything? Obviously, if you fall to someone, there's no question there. But that transition from someone who died, who's your ex-husband, and into a new relationship, were you at that
Being
point
intimate? You mean?
Yeah. Not even just intimate, just like going into a new relationship. Was that a part of the grief process at any point? Or
I think in the beginning I was
natural?
just desperate to like wanting to connect with people. So I was like, a couple of people I was with that I probably shouldn't have been with. There was one person in particular that actually took advantage of me. Like I was very vulnerable during that time, very, very vulnerable, and yeah. And my friends were super protective of me, and it all worked out. Like I had to go through those bumps and, whatever, cost me a little bit of money and, shouldn't have had sex with someone that I, whatever.
With or without grief, that happens, I guess.
I know. But I mean, all of it prepared me to like, finally, and I again believe in synchronicities or just like things happen for a reason. And like I met Ross at the time I was supposed to meet him. And I do think Christian, like my Malibu property was taking forever to build. Like it was one thing after another that it didn't make sense. It was like this house, this 3,000 square foot house taking 7.5 years to build. What the fuck,
Malibu is a pain in the ass when it comes to that. But
Coastal
7.5 years is
Commission,
ridiculous.
everything,
Coastal
it was a
Commission
nightmare.
sucks ass,
I had an
yeah.
architect that was a thief. I had so many, I had so many bad people that were involved in that project, but it didn't make sense. But I think it had to be slowed down in order for the pandemic to happen, to keep me in the marina where I was able to meet Ross through a friend. Like all of it was orchestrated. And I kind of feel like Christian's up
It really
there,
seems
just
that. Just moving the strings.
Yeah. Wait, I think I could find, by the way, if I go into my pictures from that time,
The text?
I can find.
Yeah, I want to see this.
I know. Wait, I'll go to years. Wait, hold on. If I go to years, I don't want to eat up your time, but I feel like.
Your time is my time.
Okay,
I think we have
okay.
till 12:30, so we got like 7 minutes. We're
Okay,
fine.
so if I go, because I must have saved it.
Yeah, I'm here for you, Ricki. No one else, okay?
I mean, I can show you some crazy ass shit. So
I love
this
crazy-ass
is
shit.
me. Well, whatever. This is not going to be good for your thing, but
I mean,
this
if
is
you
the
wanna
show
share,
I was
share. If
on.
not,
This is
okay.
the show I was on in London on February 11th. So I'm doing this show in this backstage.
Oh, man.
Wait.
Was that it?
Yeah. Wait. He had sent me this. This was. I love you. 211. I surrendered Pasha to SoCal Bulldog Rescue. I can no longer take. Oh, this was the letter. I think that was sent to his sister. I don't know if I'm going to read that. I won't read that.
Okay,
I want to
you
read the
cut
one
that
from
one out.
me. That because it's it's personal to me.
Yeah.
But if I can find it.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
And we loved Ibiza, as I told you. And
Yeah, I got to go there. How is it?
it's
fun?
amazing. I mean, I haven't been since 2018.
I've never been.
It's amazing. I mean, there's a whole party thing, and that's a thing.
You don't
And
have to
there's
do that,
also-
right?
You don't
I want
have
the- I
to do
want the
that.
other
Oh, there's
side.
a
I don't
whole
care for
spiritual
that
side
part.
of the island. It is
Spiritual side.
incredible. Oh, incredible. And it's
I
a
want that.
vortex. It's one of 3 on the planet. I guess Sedona is one, and
about
Esvedra is the other.
What does that mean? It's just like a high level of energy and frequency? What does that mean when it says what's it
It's
pulling?
like an energy that you can actually. It's palpable. You can actually hear like a noise, like a sound. There's a
Seriously,
frequency.
Is the frequency just you can hear
full
it?
on, full stop. Yeah. Wait, I want to show you. So my friend, this was his favorite beach. This is where we got engaged. It was called Satrencha.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And I had a friend that put an 11 over there for
love
him. I mean, there were so many things that people did to honor him. It was unbelievable. Like
Yeah,
for
I
a
mean,
guy.
it's just such a tough. It's just a. I mean, I know we went through it, but it's just a different type. It's all different grief. But when someone loses their life that way, it's just
Mm-hmm.
it's like a whole different level of existential questioning.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you had your experience that kind of helps put that to some sense of closure in a way. But when it happens in that way, like I always, there's no hierarchy to death, but the way it does happen has a massive impact on the healing process.
I think probably you're right.
It could fuck things
Although,
up.
I can't even imagine losing a loved one during 9/11. Like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, that's a weird one.
Where did you live at that time? Where were you being raised? New Jersey?
Middletown, New Jersey.
New
yeah.
Jersey.
Yeah.
And
so
your
you were
dad was a firefighter?
No, he was in the 105th floor. He worked for Cantor Fitzgerald.
Cantor Fitzgerald,
where
yeah.
they lost the most people.
Yep. And I knew one of so Doug Gardner. Doug Gardner, he was the head of eSpeed.
Oh,
He was best friends with Howard Lutnick. They
Okay.
were like roommates in college. So
Okay, yeah.
his son, Michael, was best friends with my son for a period of time when they were
Sure,
little,
okay.
when they were like
Yeah,
2 years old. And so
right.
I was close. I just saw their mom, his wife, Jennifer, who's remarried and amazing. And the kids are amazing. I mean, I can't even imagine. And
I mean, your experience, my experience, it's just, you don't know how anyone feels. That's the thing.
by
That's
the
why
way-
it's isolating.
this is Christian, by the way.
Handsome chap.
Handsome and soulful. I mean, you could just see in his soul.
You see it in
You
his
can see,
eyes.
you can see the pain, and you can see like the light, like
Yeah, it's the perfect. It's like a little battle.
hmm And that was his dog Pasha. And
What
I
about
mean-
the publicity? What about being in the public while something like this happens? Is that a whole nother
I mean,
process?
I think it's for me. I have such a weird. I have such a like an amazing way that I'm famous. I'm like I have like the perfect kind of level of fame, and I think I talk about it a lot with my husband. And being back in New York now,
You really
I am.
do.
It's the best.
You really do.
It's the
have
best.
like I was like, if I'm not famous, I don't think I'm gonna be famous. But if there was, like, it's a good sweet spot.
It's the sweetest spot because people know me. That because I was in their living rooms for 11 years. So it's like they're in their underwear, living their life, watching me every day. So I'm a part of, it's very familial.
Yes.
They know me.
Yes.
I'm very approachable. I'm normal.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
not
funny,
like,
you're cool.
so no one's weird with me.
Yeah.
And no one is like bothers me.
Yeah,
you know,
it's perfect.
It's great. And then they like what I've done. Like for the most part, I've done cool shit. So it's like, what they're gonna say? Oh, I loved you in blah blah blah, or like, you know, oh my God, your face looks great. Yeah, you know, like so. I think transparency is the way of being like dealing with it. But as far as when it comes to Christian and being transparent about that, I mean, I'm a public person. Like I've been public. I've been super honest about every aspect of my life. Why would I can't stop now. You know, like I can't, it's almost like I'm an open book and I always have been. And
I love that.
And I think Ross is cool with it. You know, I mean, I certainly, I'm conscious of being protective of other, like I don't talk about my children really because my kids are super private.
You're disrespectful with Christian sister. Like you got
they're
it.
private. I mean, and I really try to respect that. I mean, I want to gush and talk about how amazing my kids are amazing, but like, I'm gonna kind of keep it in check because they're not public figures.
No,
so
it seems like I remember when I met you at that event, the Endwell event.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like, oh, damn, she's cool. Like, I expected you to be cool. I wasn't expecting to meet you, first of all. But I was like, oh, no, she's cool as shit. You're just like chill. It's just easy.
I'm as real as they come. And then like the catchphrase for my show was like, it's got to be real. It's got to be Ricki. You know, that was like on buses around New York City. So
you stuck to it.
I guess I lived up to the hype, but I can't find what I'm looking for.
Right.
But
if you find down the road,
I'm going to connect with you and show you. But I did a celebration of life at my house in Malibu that was under construction at the time. And I did a big party, a white party, kind of like Ibiza white parties on the beach down below. Because I was overlooking, and we had this party and everyone brought white flowers and put them in the ocean. I put his ashes there, and it was so special. Like you can see, this is me carrying the ashes, the empty jar, and
you seem to do a really good job. Again, we said it earlier, but you seem to do a very nice job of keeping him alive. In a spiritual way, in a memorable way, and it's just I think that's important. I think a lot of people find pain in that, and like when I hear people talk about bringing up memories and talking, I find the opposite.
Yeah,
but a lot of people find pain in that. I think if you can find the sweet spot of keeping someone alive in that way, I think it can be healing. But not everyone is there now, or may not get there. Yeah, I find that incredibly healing.
I loved him to death, you know, and I still love him, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that fire that happened in 2010, and that my life took this turn, as painful as it was. I mean, and it's hard. Grief. Whatever. It's been 8 years since he's passed, 8.5, almost 8.5, and his birthday was just last week. And it's hard to tap into that level of pain that I was in for so long. I mean, it's hard to. You can't quite remember what that felt like, but I'm grateful for it. You know,
glass half full.
Totally.
And I think gratefulness is the key to it, Ricki. I appreciate you opening up. I know you said you like talking about him and keeping him alive, so I appreciate the opportunity for other people.
I hope it helps other people.
Yeah, I don't think you have to hope. I know it will.
Oh, thank you.
Seriously,
nice. I'm so glad that Endwell conference was another unexpected thing because I'd never heard of it before. Alua Arthur is a very new friend. She was supposed to be talking and doing a fireside chat with someone else who fell out. Okay. They asked me last minute, and I love her, and I love what she does. And in fact, Corey, did you know Corey?
No.
The one with the shaved head?
I remember her, but I didn't know her before
that. Corey's a they.
Maybe I'm thinking of someone different.
But Corey is the one who did the So I met Corey in an ayahuasca ceremony, a 2-day ayahuasca ceremony. And I asked Corey to lead the celebration of life for Christian.
Oh, no way.
So Corey came and did that for me as a gift. And I'm going to show you that when we wrap. I'm going to show you that because that was.
Think, where we at, right? We passed 11:30?
It's 12:30.
12:30. I don't even know what time it is.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
That's Corey and me.
Oh, I did. Yeah, I did.
So Corey works with Alua.
Okay, that's
and does
why.
the
She was at
the training.
They were at the table where I was at.
They were at
right?
the table,
Okay, got it,
exactly.
got it,
And
got it,
so I
got it.
got to reunite with Corey. I hadn't seen Corey in years.
I do remember you talking about the fire starter, and you're like, I don't know what I'm saying.
Oh.
You're just kind of like, I feel like you were winging it a little bit.
I totally
Yeah,
was
'cause you
winging
just-
it.
it was a
I had
last-minute
no
thing.
idea.
I remember that now.
And
I
I
remember that
was
now.
like, I said, you can just ask me anything. Like,
Yeah, you just ride with it. That's the way I think. I think that's why you're able to flow through life, and I think that's a very important thing. I try to do that. Of course, I catch myself being neurotic, this, that, but it's just bringing it back. It's
Yeah.
just bringing it back and just trying to control what we can and what we can't control. All right, let's rock. Let's go for it. I don't know what to do ananymore.
yeah,
I don't know. I just throw my hands up most of the time.
Yeah.
It's weather up right now.
you're awesome.
I appreciate you.
I
Seriously,
appreciate you.
Yeah, thank
I want
you.
to be friends.
let's be friends.
Let's be friends.
I'm trying to get my ass back to New York. I been in LA since 2011. My family's in Jersey. I need to be here. I've never lived in the city. I was in Staten Island, Jersey. My mom, my sisters are a ferry away, so I usually take the C Streak. That's how I got here today. So I was come to New York for like 2 days at least, and I
yeah.
know I belong on this side, but I don't want to give up California because I do love it.
Where in LA are you?
Culver City.
Yes.
I love
okay.
Culver. This humidity is making me question things, but
No, I know.
I love my
Today is
family
pretty
too much, so
awful.
I'm like,
Today is
but New York
bullshit.
is still today's
Yeah.
bullshit.
Today is
But I
not
do
cool.
love. But New York is a place in my heart. I think I just want to experience it, so I'm trying to hopefully get here very soon. I just got to move some things around and make it happen.
I'm on board with that idea. It's
Yeah.
amazing. We're going to be bi-coastal, so we're going to rebuild something on our property. It's not going to be what it was. It's not supposed to be. We don't need a big house.
Yes.
We need, because we're going to be here half the time. And so yeah,
The
we're
cooler
gonna,
half.
what?
You're gonna be here on the cooler half.
Yeah, we will definitely. And I think by the time we build something there and have a house to stay in, my husband will probably be close to retiring, so that we'll have just freedom. It's like the best.
It's the best.
It all worked out. I can't believe it.
I was talking to my mom. I don't have to get too personal with her. She was going through something, but I was walking with her. I put my arm around her. Like, remember like 2 months ago, and you were just worried about this, that, and the other. Now look at it. It's that door's closed. Next thing on it, and that's what it tends to be. That it's just like tutto passo. Everything passes. I really believe that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like nothing, the good and the bad kind
The
of.
only thing you can rely on is change, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the impermanence. It's
But
just,
change is uncomfortable because doesn't feel secure, and we want security, and we need to know. But once you let go of knowing, it's like, all right, let's just fucking
have you
ride
done
this thing.
ayahuasca?
I will. I haven't yet. You have some.
I don't have a
I have people. I was
referral at
curious
this
if you-
point. No,
it's
I've
a-
done it. I've done it like 14 times. I lost count, but like I've done it many times in different
like
settings.
calling a little
Yeah,
bit.
if you have a calling, that's when you do it.
Part of me is like, is that really calling, or is that just me wanting to be experimental? Because I've done DMT, I've tried plenty of other things. I'm tapped into it, but I think that one I've been kind of waiting for the right, not the perfect moment doesn't exist, but like I've been waiting for it, and I think it's getting
something
close.
Else. It's something else.
Yeah, I'm kind of scared, but in a good way.
It is scary. It is
It
terrifying.
scares the shit out of me in a good way, maybe not a good way, but
It's terrifying.
Yes,
And it's life changing.
most
that
terrifying.
is not
bad,
hyperbole.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it is life changing every time. And again, Christian is the one who kind of brought me into that. I never, ever, ever, when I did my talk show, I was the most judgmental, fear-filled, anti-drug, like psychedelic. I am not. I was so
took a turn.
close-minded. What?
You took a turn.
I took a turn. He opened me up. He cracked me open. I don't even know how he did it. He was magic because honestly,
he keeps teaching you.
he keeps teaching me.
Yeah, I said this recently again. I was like, I wonder if I feel like if my dad was still alive, he wouldn't have taught me as much as he taught me being gone.
Wow. What's your dad's name?
David
David.
Ferrugio as well. Just
So
a
you
Francis.
have his name.
Yeah, I'm just not a junior because we have different middle names.
Okay.
But yeah, same name.
Wow.
But
Are you the oldest?
youngest.
Youngest.
I'm the baby. 2 older sisters. So I was raised by women from 12 on,
Wow.
which is awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hell of a life we
cool
got
as
going
shit,
on.
David.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Dead Talks. Thank you, Ricki Lake. Till next time. Miles on the production. Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all. Till next time. Cheers. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Dead Talks. Please do not forget to hit the subscribe button and also the notification bell. That'll give you updates as to when we post a new video, more episodes, and more content in general. We are streaming on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, and all that. And also find us on Instagram at Dead Talks Podcast or www.deadtalks.net. Thank you so much.